Hey guys, Holly Oftedal here. Today I'm with Bruce Schmitz, Highland Genetics, and today he's going to tell us a little bit about his pasture fence and why he uses what he uses.
Sure. Yeah, so we run five lines of wire. We run high tensile wire across all the electric fencing that we have here. This is the one spot within the middle of the fence where we run the tensioner rods. So we run tensioners in the middle of our fence to pull the whole thing together. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the top and the cross pieces here. So this is the one corner post. We actually run it this way with two pulling across. We've got our top height in the middle here. If you can see it in the video, there's a tension rod or tension wires running crisscross both ways. And we did that for a couple reasons. Most of the time you see where it's just pulling down one way or pulling across the other way. When you run it this way, you actually pull the whole thing together across both posts, and it actually is a stronger pull. So that was a really neat idea that we came up with. It's been pretty good in most of our pastures. Like I said, we run 5 wires across. The top 2 and the bottom 2 are hot. The middle one is the ground. And we run our ground lines a little bit different than what you're used to seeing too. Every 25 feet, we take a wire, we wrap it around here, and we shove it down into the ground. So the ground is actually transferred around the entire fence, and then we tie this ground line back to the fencer. Instead of just running one post down where the fencer is, we actually take the ground wire across the entire fencing system.
And does that make a stronger shock? What's the purpose of that?
It does, yep.
Okay.
And it actually, especially if you're in a drought,
right,
that if you pound the ground post in right below the fencer, it won't carry because there's no moisture in the ground. Right?
Yep.
So if you carry that ground wire across, but also if you have a huge pasture that you're running, and some of our pastures are pretty large, that ground post won't carry all the way to the other side of the pasture.
And then you have 5 strands here, and what's your reasoning for 5 strands versus like 3 or 4?
We like 5 strands because it actually reduces the space between each fence. If for some reason this fencer was to get shorted out or stopped for some reason, there's still enough wire over there where the cow's not going to think that they can push through it. The other thing that I should point out is bottom 2, we actually put on a switch. So we can shut those off, and they can actually only run the top 2 as hot lines. The reason we do that is in the winter when the snow builds up, if you have your bottom line that's hot, if it's going through the snow, it's going to short out your fence.
Yeah, super smart idea.
The other thing that I'd like to point out is when we did the tensioners, you can see we actually staggered them. We did that on purpose so that way if the wind were to pick up and things were to blow and maybe this were to get loose or a tree were to fall on it and the wire got loose somehow, they're not going to touch each other because they can't get snagged. So that's why we staggered them out like that.
Well, that's super cool. Thank you, Chris.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.